Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 922A, and today's date is March 18th, 2016, and the title of the episode is Fear in the Economy Reaches an All-Time High. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, we are starting to see that things are really separating from what the central bank is saying, what the government is saying, and what the stock market is reporting. And we know the stock market has no effect on the economy whatsoever. Yes, can it keep the illusion alive? Can it keep people in the dark of what's really going on? That's what it's used for at this point. This is why they need so much manipulation. But what we see right now is that the economy and the real indicators that we've been looking at, they're completely separate and apart from what's really going on in the country compared to what the government, the central bankers are telling us. People around the country now are very worried about how the economy is doing. And this is showing up in consumer confidence. And we see the UMich consumer confidence. This has tumbled to a 5-month low. And they're saying that future expectations, the hope that the market's going to get better, it's just not there. It's completely falling apart. Now, the market's continually going up. They're continually pushing it up. And people are saying something doesn't feel right. Now, of course, the president, Obama, doesn't want you to feel anything. Just believe what he's saying. But we see that there are so many signs, so many indicators right in front of us, telling us that this system is falling apart. LL Bean reports a flat sales in this year. We see Tiffany is slashing their earnings as much as 20%. The sales just aren't there. The people have been laid off. People do not have work. And if you can find a part-time job, you're not making the same amount of money that you once were. Tiffany's is saying that the worldwide sales growth of only 2% on a constant exchange rate basis, or down 3% as reported, along with a lack of earnings and growth, it didn't meet the forecasts. And going forward, they're saying that this year doesn't look too good. And we're starting to see that retail stores, they are hurting right now. We are going to see many more stores say, you know something, we just need to close up shop. We're done here. We don't have the sales coming in. There's no online sales that everyone was talking about, that everything's switching from the brick and mortar stores right to online sales. It's just not happening. Yes, maybe if we had a real strong economy where people had jobs, they were out there spending, and retail was expanding, we might see that. But we're seeing everything contract right now. And in a contraction type of scenario, you're not going to see all of a sudden online sales take off. You're going to see everything take a hit. And this is what we're seeing. Now, Caterpillar, they are doing absolutely awful. Their retail sales are in an area of depression, and the bottom just fell out. And what we're seeing is that in February, their sales have crashed by 21% after falling only 15% in January. So the US is down 11% after sliding 7% in January. China is down 26% after being down 22%. Latin America is imploding by 45% after a 36% drop. What does this tell you? It tells you we are in big trouble. And what we're seeing right now is that CAT has been in decreasing retail sales for 39 months. Double the length of the financial crisis back in 2008, which was 19 months. And February was the biggest drop in 5 years. This is a complete disaster. Now, the fear indicator right now is surging to record highs. Institutional investors are not believers in the equity rally. Retail investors are sitting there saying something is wrong. There's something wrong with the market. It doesn't make sense. And the last time that the fear spiked to record highs as VIX hit local lows, things did not end well. And people are nervous. People are afraid of what is happening right now. Because none of these statistical numbers that the government is throwing at us, it makes no sense. When you're sitting there and you see stores closing down, your neighbors losing jobs, strip malls being emptied, no one's shopping in malls, there's a problem. When you see manufacturing declining and people being laid off, there's a problem. Now, the U.S. government, the central bankers, are trying to convince everyone that manufacturing's on a rebound. And they're trying to say, see, look, all of a sudden everything is getting better. The economy's doing well. And when you look at this, how can this be? Suddenly, the manufacturing indices catapulted higher, supposedly because manufacturing is rebounding. Well, no. When we really look at this, we see that U.S. strong domestic activity can only stimulate manufacturing. But with 45 million people on food stamps and more than 50 million who are permanently unemployed, where is the buying power to boost manufacturing? A supposed rebound in the U.S. manufacturing defies rationality. The U.S. dollar is still perched at an ultra-absurd exchange rate versus nearly every other currency in the world, making U.S. exports very expensive. And simultaneously, we're told that the bankers have succeeded in sending the whole global economy into a recession. And right now there's no demand, there's no strength, there's nothing. This is a phantom rebound. Now, of course, they're trying to convince us that there's 11 million new jobs created since the start of this recovery. But when we look at the real world, the percentage of Americans with jobs hovers around 40-year lows. This translates into 3 million less Americans with jobs since the start of the recovery. The 11 million new jobs never existed, just like this manufacturing rebound. The whole thing is made up by the U.S. government central bankers. How do they make it up? They manipulate, massage, drop off, forget to add up different numbers. And statistics are very easy to play with. That's why they continually say, oh, these people dropped off. They don't want a job. Don't worry, we're creating all of these part-time jobs. And a lot of the part-time jobs, we're not even sure that they're really created because, as we can see, more and more retailers are laying off and closing down, but they keep telling us that manufacturing is picking up. But we see no demand by the consumer. So again, someone's lying. And guess what? It's the central banks and the U.S. government. We see the Baltic Dry Index. It climbed another 3 points after dropping a couple of points, and we're hovering around this 395 area at this point. Now, I'm going to say we're going to start to see this bounce up and down now around this area, down to 380, back up to 390. And again, this is what they're going to use to say this is the new normal. Now, this part right here, everyone should be worried about. Bernanke is back. And he is coming out. And remember, he's the guy that told us back in 2008 that the subprime is contained. There's nothing wrong with Bear Stearns. There's nothing wrong with AIG. There's nothing wrong with the economy. Houses, they'll never lose value. The housing market is perfect. Remember, he said we're not forecasting a recession anytime this year. We see nothing. Nothing's going to happen. What are you all worried about? Well, he's coming out today to tell us that the U.S. economy is currently growing and creating jobs, a situation I hope and expect will continue. And everyone should just stop worrying about negative interest rates and stop worrying about the economy. It is doing absolutely fine. Now, with this announcement, everyone should be shaking in their boots because he's out there trying to tell everyone, don't look at negative interest rates. The economy's growing. Everything is fine. Jobs are being created. Well, didn't he say this back in 2008? Yeah, he said the same thing. We're heading down a path into a complete disaster. And everyone needs to be ready. Now, I know the U.S. government central bankers are pushing the TPP, the TTIP, and these trade agreements, we know at this point they don't work for the American people. They work for global corporate agreements, central banks, government. But for the people, it doesn't work. Now, they keep telling us that these are going to create jobs. Don't worry. We're going to create jobs all over the place. Well, when we look back in history, and according to the Economic Policy Institute, remember the North American Free Trade Act? Well, that cost U.S. workers 700,000 jobs. 700,000 jobs. It didn't work out. The passage of the Korean-U.S. Free Trade Agreement has lost 70,000 U.S. jobs. And this TPP, this is going to be a disaster. Yes, it will profit Wall Street. It will profit big corporations. It will profit the central bank. It will profit the 1%. But for the everyday person, it's going to be a complete disaster. We will see the U.S. turn into a third world nation because it will create jobs, but not for the everyday person. It'll create jobs for foreign workers coming into this country where their wage will be based on their country's wages. And the American people will not be able to compete with that. So jobs will be lost. Jobs will be also offshored to other areas, just like we saw with every other trade agreement. And the American people will suffer once this moves forward. Now, according to a leaked document, the unelected European Commission won't be able to make new trade laws without asking Washington first and the corporations. The leak absolutely confirms that the TTIP, it's all about giving big business more power over a very wide range of laws and regulations. In fact, business lobbies are on the record as saying they want to co-write laws with governments. This is fascism, plain and simple. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.